Welcome to the Prophecy Club. Our topic today is some new information about the Palestinian state that may be followed up by a massive New Madrid earthquake, and why it might be, this is what the news says, it might be as early as July 2025. Okay, before we get there, this is a brand new page. Here's what we're asking for. Leslie and I have been invited to go to Honduras and also to Pakistan, and we're asking your help so that we can go. Why? Because we're asking you to go to missions.prophecyclub.com, because when you go overseas, they don't pay your way. They don't take an offering up for you. You got to pay your own way and all of that. You have to feed them when they show up. And so we're calculating for Pakistan and Honduras, we need about $40,000, and we need this to start coming in by the end of November in order for us to go and minister. Now, I know you've heard things like this before, but let me tell you just from the heart why you want to support us. Now, I know what you're thinking. Wait a minute. They got a Bible. They can read about Bible prophecy just like me and you. Well, actually, a lot of them don't have Bibles. And then if they do have Bibles, a lot of them can't read them. And I remember when I talked in Honduras to some 220 people, I talked on Revelation 13. And frankly, if I were to teach on Revelation 13 to a lot of places, a lot of you people listening, you would roll your eyes because that would be old information. But this was all new information to our brothers down there. You cannot imagine what it's like to see people hearing about Bible prophecy, and I'm going to talk on the mark of the beast. That's the most important thing they need to know about. So I'm asking you for your help so that we can go and tell, well, we take the gospel, of course. Leslie does her ministry, but also I'm asking you for help so that I can go tell them about the mark of the beast. That's the primary thing we're going to do. And you can click on those QR codes showing here, and it'll take you right to it, and you can make a donation. We're needing roughly $40,000, but the problem is we need some of it coming in pretty soon. And also, we're having a healing deliverance conference, prophecy healing deliverance conference, coming up in September. We invite you to go to that, and you can find out about both of them at prophecyclub.com, prophecyclub.com. Okay, so here is part of the big new information. Massive arrests have begun. Now, I don't think that this is all of it, but the question it might be some of it. So it says the DOJ has criminally charged 324 defendants, including 96 doctors, nurse practitioners, pharmacists, and licensed medical professionals in 50 federal districts, 12 state attorney general's offices across the United States for their alleged participation in various healthcare fraud schemes involving over $14.6 billion in loss. Now, I want to look that up and confirm that, so I did, looked it up, went to the Justice Department's YouTube channel, and there it is. And it's 37 minutes talking about all of the details. You can go there and check it out. And the point is, we've been talking about massive arrests are coming. The question is this the massive arrests? Because it could be starting. Matter of fact, I'm going to say something else. I as I already said, I'm shocked that Trump didn't take advantage of June 14th when he had tanks down in Washington, D.C., 1,800 cities with insurrectionists in them. He could have very easily started massive arrests then. So is it about to start? Is he waiting for the July the 4th, the big Independence Day for all of this? Are we about to see a whole bunch of things change? I don't know. Be a good watchman and let's watch. Okay. Let's talk about the Abraham Accords. Let's talk about Omar ushers in Palestinian state. Now, Leslie was told this back in 2002. So we're talking about a prophecy 23 years old. Now, I've not heard of anybody getting a prophecy to come to pass that's 23 years old outside of the Bible. But the Abraham Accords are actually a series of agreements to, now listen to this, normalize relationships between Israel and the Arabs. When you hear Abraham Accords, think Israel, Palestinian state, or at least peace with Israel. So it goes on to say initial agreements signed in 2020 involved the United Arab Emirates with Bahrain and also normalization with Morocco and Sudan. The accords promote principles like, now listen to what it says here, mutual understanding, interfaith. In other words, we're not going to kill you just because you're a Jew anymore. That's basically what it's saying. So they're going to make peace with Israel. Now, went to Fox News. Here's what it says. Trump teases loading up Abraham Accords with new nations after Middle East shakeup. And he, in this, I watched the interview, the whole interview, he openly said that the Abraham Accords, which sought to normalize relationships between Israel, in other words, they basically quit killing the Jews, they become friends with the Jews as much as an Arab can. And Steve Witkoff said last Wednesday, and also Trump said it, that they're expanding the accords is one of the president's key objectives, and he is predicting that the administration will have big announcements on countries coming into the accords soon. Now, other articles I'm about to read for you says like in 2 weeks. Okay, is that July? That's July. What else is in July? July the 4th, big Independence Day. Let's go on, there's more. Trump's crown jewel, the Abraham Accords, may expand to normalize ties between Israel and other nations. Okay, now we know about that. Okay, we got that. Well, Steve Witkoff hints at pretty big announcements while experts point to Syria and Lebanon as likely candidates. Okay, that's big. That's huge because these were the nations that have been attacking Israel for, I don't know, what, the last 30 years to have peace with Syria and Lebanon. And it may be that, well, I've got an article. Let me get to the article. I'll show you the article. I'm about to play a video. It's about 3 minutes long of Brandon Biggs. Now, he's the guy that saw Trump shot in the right ear about 3 months before it happened. Had about 50,000 subscribers. Now it's up to 550,000 subscribers. And he is about to tell you that if America splits Israel within 3 days, he says, he holds his fingers up like this, within 3 days, he says that there will be a massive earthquake hit America. Here he is, Brandon Biggs.
I see an article from Fox News saying that Trump and Bibi have agreed on a two-state solution. And that was one of the things from the Abraham Accords. And they were saying how they were wanting to make a two-state solution. They were agreeing upon it. And I've already told you all, you have if they do this two-state solution, 3 days later, the new Madrid fault line will be split in half and America will be divided in half. If you want to watch that video is down below. I told you all when this happens, I saw great big Chinook helicopters flying from the west to the central part of America. They had supplies. They were trying. It sounded like the earth was shaking. They had so many helicopters trying to bring supplies from the west to the central part where the United States was divided. This is whenever I told you I saw the lion's face, and I thought, what is this lion's face? And it was carved into a side of a building, and I warned everybody, I saw tumbleweeds going down Wall Street. I saw tumbleweeds going down Wall Street. And I saw a side of the building, and I saw the lion, and the Lord spoke to me. He said, look at the lion on the side of the building. But I didn't know what building it was. But it is the New York Stock Exchange. That's what this building is. And the Lord warned me about it. And he told me, if you divide Jerusalem, if they do a two-state solution and they do this, I'm going to divide America. And I saw it split down the middle. I saw all the bridges that were going from west to east that were completely destroyed on the Mississippi River. I saw it was the most devastating. And I saw from Texarkana to Tulsa, Oklahoma, I saw over 1,800 people die. And the massive building that's at ORU was split down the middle. The big skyscraper looking, that big hospital looking building was split. That was split down the middle when this earthquake takes place. I saw it completely. Half of the building was broke off at the top and it broke down and all that was laying on the ground. And I remember it was on fire. And then I saw all the houses that were built on cinder blocks were completely leveled. Houses that were on a foundation were better. But the people who had houses on cinder blocks, they completely were gone. And I saw the new Madrid. There was thousands of people that passed away from this event that takes place. And that's why I've always told people, we must not divide Jerusalem ever. For when we do, 3 days after, I want you to hear me, that's how strong this word was. He said that the Liberty Bell, I saw the bell ringing. I saw bells, old cast iron bells ringing when this happens. 3 days after it's divided and it's agreed upon, we have 3 days and he'll divide America. I'm talking straight down the middle. So that's one thing you need to know. We must pray that this does not take place. It's very, very important. This is the article saying that they want to make a two-state solution. And it's on multiple Abraham Accords and all these different things, these peace agreement, they're wanting to do all this. But it's on multiple news channels. And even the Jerusalem Post is talking about it. And I was like, this is not something that we want to be involved in.
Okay, so that would make the 13th person I have that is saying that if America splits Israel, God is going to split America. Next article, Trump hopeful for Gaza ceasefire possibly next week. This is June 28th, as in today's 30th, okay, as in this week. President Donald Trump voiced optimism Friday about a new ceasefire in the Gaza Strip as criticism grew over mounting civilian deaths in Israeli-backed food distribution centers in the territory. Asked by reporters how close a ceasefire between Israel and Hamas, he says, we think within the next week we're going to get a ceasefire. What does that mean? It means that within the next week we could see Israel give the Palestinians a state. Okay, well, maybe there's just a ceasefire and there's not a Palestinian state. Well, I like Trump's idea of a Middle East Riviera, where the Americans take over and bulldoze the place into the sea and clean it all up and turn it into a nice place to vacation and move the people that are out into other nice housing, other nations that will be willing to take them. I think that's a much better solution. But that's not what the prophecy says is going to happen. Next article. Trump tells Israel, end Gaza war now or lose the deal. Now, prior to the attack where we took out the nuclear sites in Iran, prior to when Trump said 60 days, and on the 61st day, Israel attacked Iran, prior to that, that didn't mean a whole lot. But now when Trump says you either end the Gaza war now or lose the deal, he's basically threatening Israel. He's basically twisting their arm saying, do the deal or bad things are going to happen. And of course, Trump is, I think he's got a lot of respect. I'm also concerned he's getting a lot of fear. He's putting a lot of fear in some bad people's mind. And when you put fear into bad people's mind, they either bend the knee or they pull out the knife and stab you in the back. And I doubt they're going to bend the knee. Now, let's go on to the article. Trump urged Bibi to end Israel's war with Iran has created the best opportunity to halt the conflict and begin long-term peace negotiations in our lifetime, really. An agreement is very possible. The president is working very hard on convincing the Israelis that time is now. Trump declared a ceasefire Tuesday between Israel and Iran after ordering U.S. strikes on Iranian nuclear facilities. I'll let you read the rest of it. Trump has repeatedly cited the ceasefire as a diplomatic win and is now seeking to redirect attention toward the Gaza war, meaning now he's trying to fix the Gaza war, okay? He's hoping that those 60 days will lead to a resolution, the release of all the hostages, and a permanent ceasefire that could lead to negotiations over the future of an Israeli-Palestinian peace agreement or a two-state solution or a Palestinian state. See, when they say two-state solution, what they're saying is that Israel would give the Palestinians a state. And that might fulfill the headline, Omer ushers in Palestinian state. Now, I have to tell you, I don't know how we're going to get Omer into that statement. I still don't know. Because it's not the counting of Omer. Ehud Omer's 80 years old. I don't know how. I don't know. But not my problem. You know, it's a God problem. He said it's going to happen, so And we pray against it. We don't want that to happen. Okay, on to the next one. Now, this is some really, really, really big news, but it's too small for you to read that. So I took the text, the exact text here, and I blew it up. Now, this is important. Let's read it. Major new developments in the coming weeks from the Middle East. Immediately after the American attack on Iran's nuclear facilities. Now, I got to back up and tell you. This guy here, I don't know how he gets it, but he comes up with some very interesting inside information, and he seems to be accurate on it just about every time. So he's one to be listened to. So it says, immediately after the American attack on Iran's nuclear facilities, there was a quadruple phone call between President Trump, Marco Rubio, Benjamin Netanyahu, and the Strategic Affairs Ron Dermott. I don't know how he would know that, but he's been pretty accurate. He said Trump and the Prime Minister has quickly agreed to break into new peace agreements with Arab countries. Well, that's what the other article's been saying. He said the following principles were agreed upon in generalities. The war in Gaza will end within 2 weeks. Do you see why I'm saying we could see a Palestinian state in July of 25? The war in Gaza could end within 2 weeks. They're going to manage the Gaza Strip into a murderous, that's what it says, in place of the murderous Hamas terror organization. What is left of Hamas leadership would be exiled to other countries and, of course, hostages released. Several countries around the world are expected to absorb the many residents of Gaza who wish to immigrate. Muslim countries will recognize Israel, that's really, 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 really big, and establish official relationships. But here it comes. Israel will express its willingness to resolve the conflict. Now, it's saying that they'll resolve it, but it's not saying that they're about to give the Palestinians a state in 2 weeks. Let's keep on reading. Willingness to resolve the conflict with the Palestinians in the future under the concept of 2 states. And this is conditional on reforms in the Palestinian Authority. The United States will recognize the application of some Israeli sovereignty in Judea and Samaria, meaning it may be that what's about to happen starts the peace, but it doesn't actually conclude until the counting of the Omer in 2026. And by the way, that'd be fine by me. Okay. Now let me jump to another thing. Now, I'm not going to read all of this. It was a dream given to Maurice Sklar back in 2014. And if I were to read the whole thing, it's quite amazing, and there's no question it is of God. If you want to, you can pause, stop, and read the whole thing. But let me read a couple of things. The dream shifted and started to zoom out toward the New York harbor and started traveling in the air over America. What I saw was horror beyond anything I've ever seen. I saw the United States seem to crack in two with a giant earthquake. Okay, how many times we got to hear this before we start believing it? Right down the middle, I saw the southeastern United States covered with a giant wave of water from the ocean. I saw a massive earthquake that just seemed to crack off the coast of California. It reminded me of a saltine cracker that just cracked in two. The gray cities along the west coast just fell into the ocean all the way from Mexico up into Alaska, and giant waves flooded inland until much of the west coast simply wasn't there. It had disappeared into the Pacific Ocean. Now, I'm going to skip part of this again, too, because I already read that, and that part's talking about suitcase nukes. Pause and read it if you want to. Same thing with the line through it here, but I'm going to skip down. After this, I saw America begin to quake. It split open like the Grand Canyon, but bigger. It split from the Great Lakes down the Ohio River to the Gulf of Mexico. It was at this point I realized what I was seeing and cried out for mercy. This must happen. It cannot be stopped, a voice responded. The next scene seemed like some time passed by, but not for sure how long, and I saw a massive tidal wave hit the east coast. I saw the bottom half of California break off and sink into the ocean. That's two people right there back to back saw exactly the same thing. Now, let me jump to Chris Reed. This is March 25th of 2022. He said, I saw a $50 bill torn 1/3 off. Then people started handing me newspaper headlines. Now, let's read some of these newspaper headlines because there's a bit of good news in this, and it's sort of saying, obviously it didn't happen in 22 or 3 or 4. And it looks like it might not even happen in 25. And that'd be good news too. And I'm all for the good news. So he says the first headline was the U.S. dollar drops 30% in value. Subtitle, Middle Eastern oil strikes deal with China instead of the U.S. I told you that happened June 9th of 2024. But we haven't seen the dollar drop 30% in value. It's a crazy thing. Then he saw perfect storm. Subtitle, inflation reaches new high. Well, they said all of these tariffs were going to cause massive inflation, but we haven't seen it. So it's a really strange thing. We know it's at the door. We've got a lot of prophecy saying it is, but it hasn't arrived yet, and that's a good thing. That's fine by me. Number 3 is food shortage crisis as wheat and bread imports are at a stalemate. Okay, we saw a lot of the shipping containers return to China. There's been a whole disruption in our shipping really for the last 2 years, okay? Remember, Coverstone saw that there was the Baltic Dry Index was dead, but it hasn't bit us very hard yet. It's all sort of like ready to happen, but it hasn't happened. Let's go to the next one. So food shortage crisis as wheat and bread imports at a stalemate. Then the 2/3 of a $50 bill remaining was then torn in half. In other words, same thing Coverstone saw. 1/3 down, 1/3 worthless as leaves blowing in the wind like Shane Warren saw. We got 3 people saying exactly the same thing. Then riots and civil unrest, citizens demand entitlement checks as earthquake happened under our feet. Well, we've seen some unrest. We saw that with George Floyd. We've seen that with ICE, but we haven't seen anything about entitlement checks. Now, the big, beautiful bill is supposed to be getting passed here by July the 4th. And people continue in the right places to say it's going to get passed. It's going, not a problem, it's going to get passed. Well, is that the entitlements checks? Because it doesn't sound like it. So, but when the entitlement checks here, that's when he said an earthquake happened under his feet. Then the next point, number 5, was Israeli-Palestinian two-state solution reached. To tell you the truth, this he was given this in 22. And we thought, well, surely it's probably going to happen in 23. It didn't happen in 23. It didn't happen in 24. And now I have to tell you, it looks like it could happen in 25. I said could. But I can also see it not happening until 26. Omer ushers in a Palestinian state if the word Omer is talking about the 49 days of the counting of the Omer between first fruits and Pentecost. Well, those days have already passed for 25. So is that going to happen in 26? I hope not. I hope we still have more time. I'd love to hear that. I'd love to think that. Israeli-Palestinian two-state solution reached. But when that happens, that's what you just saw with Brandon. He just said he saw that as soon as we split Israel, God split America. And that's what now 13 people say. Number 6 is a major earthquake hits the middle of the United States. We've got 13 people that are all saying the same thing. And you can pause and read the rest of it if you want to. Let me move on. Now, let me compare this to what Leslie was told. I've covered this many, many times. But you may be saying, I'm kind of getting tired of it. Well, I understand that. But this is a major thing that the number one thing I'm supposed to get out is the fall of America starts with an internal revolution by Dmitry Duduman. This is number 2. And what he told me is that this is going to be what causes people from all directions to begin to turn and listen to our ministry. Until they start listening to our ministry, there's not going to be any sports stadiums filled. There's not going to be any mass people getting saved like he's promised me is coming. So to me, this has got to happen. Okay, so Arafat going to the hospital. And I remember that morning when she woke up, she says, you're going to want to record this. And sure enough, I did. But just the day before, Ehud Olmert had been named the new prime minister. Israel will give the Palestinians a state, but it will be a temporary measure to allow the Israelis time to strengthen their military. Oil will be discovered in Israel. The oil my opinion, does two things. It not only makes the Jews willing to fight for the land, but it also gives them the money to build their military. Then, after oil, then Israel and America go against most of the rest of the Arab world. Then, in 2006, Omar ushers in Palestinian state. Now, I have to tell you, we still don't know for sure what Omar is. We don't know. She didn't see it spelled. She only heard it. So we don't know what Omar ushers in Palestinian state is. But my point is, we could see it in July. We could see this. And as you just heard Brandon Biggs say, that if we split Israel within 3 days, that's what he said, you saw it, within 3 days, God is going to split America right down the Ohio River Valley. That's what he's saying. What America's greatest times of need, Israel refuses help to America. Israel is attacked. America sends troops. And then, of course, then the fall of America. If you don't want to lose your life's savings, if you have an IRA or a 401k, the thing to do is call 800-200-GOLD. 800-200-GOLD. These folks are Christians, and they specialize in helping people not lose their life savings in the event of a stock market crash and things like that. Look, most of the 401ks, most of the IRAs are in paper, backed by paper, and as Lindsey Williams says, if it's in paper, it's worth the paper it's written on. You can lose it all. 1-800-200-GOLD. 800-200-GOLD. Hey, give them a call. Doesn't hurt, doesn't cost you anything. See if they can give you some good advice. Okay, the very best offer we have ever had at the Prophecy Club is 40 books for a gift of $100. That is How Pre-Trib Won, Tribulation Secrets in Daniel, God's Warnings to America, Miss the Mark, and The Secret Door to Understand Bible Prophecy. I'll explain. As I've said many times in 2017, I memorized the book of Revelation. I got 30 revelations, 2 visions, and an audible voice. God showed me a secret door, the word first fruits, which is found in Leviticus and also Revelation, that links the feasts to the prophecies of Revelation. And perhaps for the first time, Revelation can be understood. One prophetic word said, there's a lock. I put over a word in the book of Revelation. I'm going to open it to you. It will turn many books written on the end time message into obsolete books. That's this book. Secondly, I put together a collection of the very best prophecies from 32 years in Bible prophecy: Dimitri Duduman, Michael Boldale, Leslie Johnson, Henry Groover, Shane Warren, Terry Bennett, Maurice Sklar, Augusto Perez, Doug Metzger, Bree Keaton, and more in God's Warnings to America. Also, how do you talk to people about the mark of the beast, especially if they worship another god? Well, simple way is give them this book. It's a quick read. Takes about 3 hours to read it. But if they'll read 2 or 3 pages, they'll probably read the book. But if they read the book, they will never take the mark of the beast.